Thank you for joining us on this episode of Legal Angle with Emmanuel, the Law Olawale. I have a guest today. She's an artist, she's a writer, she's a creative, and her name is Morenike Adesulo. Uh, I will welcome to the show, Morenike.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank
Can
you.
you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, currently I'm an artist. Well, that's what I am. I believe that that's what my calling is since I was a little girl, as early as 3 years old. I've always known that, that I'm an artist. And, well, just general things about me. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I recently quit my corporate job to focus on art and writing because I believe rather that 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 those things are my purpose here on earth.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. When did you realize that you have artistic gift?
Yeah, so just when, as like I said, as early as I was, as early as 3 years old, even I remember the first thing um, that I drew was probably a chicken or something, and I remember my parents, my mom saying it. I don't even know if I was talking yet or not, or maybe I was just quiet, but I just remember her looking like, oh my God, this girl can draw. And she showed my dad, like, look at what Morenike did, like this girl actually did this. And I just remember then just being amazed by it. And for me, it was really not a big deal. I guess I just picked up a pen and paper and I scribbled I just picked up a pen and I just was scribbling. So that was just basically I mean, it was probably a stick figure or something. It probably wasn't anything elaborate or anything, but it was just, I guess they were just amazed that I could draw. I could just even do some kind of representational art, not just scribble, something I could identify as a chicken or something like that. So I just had memories of them being impressed by work that I did as a kid. So I've kind of always known that. And then growing up, there were some things I would say everything I wanted to be growing up. Kids would change. Everything had to do with being creative. And there was a time I even said I wanted to be a playwright because I had written a play when I was little. I even had someone type it out for me. And, so I had said I wanted to be a playwright. Then I would say things like interior design, interior decorator, artist. So those were the things that I was always switching back and forth. I mean, there was some time I actually wanted to do law as well, but that actually, that kind of, that didn't really stay too long. But sometimes law is one of those things that will come in my head. And then architecture, those were things that I kind of like dabbled with. Those were careers I was always like juggling in my head, marketing, things like that. But I also know that I've always known that I'm a very creative person. I just love to create art. And like you said, like the title of this show, art really is healing. Before I even knew that it was healing because as a kid, even when, like when I wanted to self-soothe, that was what I would do. Like, most kids will cry and I would cry too. I mean, I wasn't a kid that didn't cry, but when I wanted to just console myself, I would just pick up a pen and paper and draw. Or if I upset my parents, if I wanted to impress them, I would draw things like maybe make a card for her, or for my mom, for instance, make a piece of art or something. And that was what I did as a kid, to just say I was sorry, things like that. So I've always been a creative person. And when I was in primary school, we actually had a very strong art program. We had a very good art teacher in primary school. He was very advanced for primary school students. So, and from as early as 8 years old, 9 years old, I've been doing live figure drawings, like having a model pose in front of the class and drawing. So I've been exposed to that from an early age. And in high school, when we had to choose between music and art, of course, I went for art. And those were areas where I felt more. I guess that was the course I even felt more comfortable with, was art. I felt more confident. It wasn't even. It just I wasn't there to even compete with anyone. I was just there to just be me. So I just enjoyed it, and I enjoyed topics where, like when they give you homework and say, okay, come up with a design for this. I just love how my imagination would just go, and I'll just think of something. And another thing is that I've always infused like my heritage in everything that I do, every art that I create. My culture, always, seems to just come in without me even realizing it. It just comes in anything that I do. There's always like a hint of it somehow. So yeah.
Wow. So
Mhm.
this has always been you. Did your
Yeah.
parents encourage you?
So there wasn't any strong encouragement. It wasn't like, oh, this girl is an artist, let's push her, like how, so there wasn't any strong encouragement. There wasn't any heavy discouragement either. But I guess there were, I'm not trying to put my parents on blast or anything. They might not even remember this, but I have a sharp memory. But
Tell us about it.
I remember saying, I just want to be an artist, and, I'm a Yoruba, so I hope the audience doesn't mind. I'm going to speak a bit of Yoruba here. So, and, artist in Yoruba, it doesn't sound flattering when you translate it to Yoruba. So, like, I remember mommy saying something like, ha, Oluya, or something like
Yeah.
that. So I was like, okay, that doesn't even sound right. It just sounds like, like people have always we've always not looked up to art, even though art is all around us, even though the evidence of what art does is all around us. It's like we place emphasis on some certain careers, and we all know what those top careers are as people who grew up in Nigeria. One
Yeah.
being law, of course, and medicine, engineering,
Mhm.
and then other things like accounting can come in and all that. But art has never really been that program that people really try to encourage. So I didn't have any heavy discouragement or anything like that. But I remember as a kid, my mom is a retired radiographer from Luth, Lagos University Teaching Hospital. So I guess whenever she receives all these films, like for her X-rays, there used to be like some cardboards that came with them. I guess in the packaging, they were pretty sturdy. So she would bring them home for me to do my artwork on them. So I didn't really necessarily have to buy a lot of cardboards from the store. So she would just bring them home for me. So in that area, I would say she kind of encouraged that, So she would bring them home for me, and I would draw and paint on them. And I actually sold, and I would give them to her, and she would sell them to her coworkers. And I actually visited one of them, and I saw it hanging in her house. So I don't know if they really liked the work or anything like that, or they just wanted to support a young girl or a little girl or something. So I guess that was my first time selling art, I guess. And so she encouraged that. My dad encouraged me too, but not necessarily like a big push, like
They
go
didn't
for
push
it,
you,
like
but they just let you be. But they wouldn't
yeah.
discourage you.
Yeah, so they didn't discourage. So with me, I guess, so for me, even though in college even, I did art. Art was my major. And I don't even know why. I kind of knew that when I got out of college, I wasn't going to pursue like a career in art. It's like I knew that, but I still went for art in college because I just felt like maybe I just wanted to just get a degree. And I said, okay, I just want to get a degree, and I want to get into something that I like, something that that will be smooth for me, in college. And it was art, and I took a few other courses too that I was very interested in. So I went into art, and I chose some other electives and everything. And I at some point I was considering. I was like, should I do graphic design? Should I do this? I wasn't sure. I guess I was just really concerned about just getting my degree. And I wanted to just be like everybody else is what. So it wasn't like anyone really said, don't do art or don't even try to go there. As a matter of fact, I was surrounded by people who were always impressed with my work. People were like, oh my God, you should really do this. You should really, wow, don't let this go. Things like that. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I just I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to be like I wanted to be like everybody else. And because I am very, I feel like I'm sort of like an awkward person. And I'm very, very conscious of that I'm quite awkward, in some in some settings. And I think it's just being an artist. So I just don't want to be I don't want to be seen as too weird or too off, just off the charts or anything like that. So I just wanted to do what everybody was doing. I think I wanted to do what people saw as respectful or respectable, like career, like what people just really respected, and things that would just make me be normal in gatherings, like talking to other people and just being able to flow along with them and things. I think that was probably subconsciously, I think, is what was going on in my head. And I guess just seeing how everyone just talks about, oh, you work with this company? Wow, amazing. So I think that was probably what it was. If I'm being honest with myself, after doing some soul searching and all that, that's why I'm being, vulnerable now and just saying these things. Like, I think that was probably what was going on with me without even realizing it. Was just wanting to be, just wanting to fit the mold, being like everybody else, and pushing my own talents in the back burner. So that was basically what it was. So in college, I did some work. I did some artwork. I mean, like I probably didn't take the time it's hard to admit this, but I would say maybe I didn't take it seriously enough, because I even did a lot of artwork that even made it into art shows in college that I actually even left behind in college. And the school I went to is in Maryland, Bowie, Maryland. And every now and then I think about it, like, should I still go? And it's been a while since I graduated college. And I'm like, is my work still going to be there? Some of them I didn't even sign. And I'm just like, oh, I might just have to let it go. I don't know if it's even, or trying to go back and try to look for it. But just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, wow, like I didn't even, because I was so sure that I just wanted to go into the corporate world. I mean, I had like superficial reasons for wanting to go to the corporate world. Like, I just picture myself working in, putting on my suit, I just had the superficial surface reasons too. Like, I wanted to see, I saw myself holding my laptop bag and wearing a suit and get into the elevator to like maybe the 12th floor of some building with like a nice view. So I just had all these things in my head as if that was just what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to see them. But of course, like a lot of people in corporate world knows that it's not all peachy and everything once you get in there. So so that was basically, I guess that's basically.
Yes. Yeah, I think, you're just trying to blend in, because sometimes as a creative, as an artist, as a
Mm-hmm.
you'll always be different, because the way you think, the way you process
Mm-hmm.
things is always, whether you're a writer or a
Right.
musician or when you're
Mm-hmm.
creative,
Mm-hmm.
you're always, the way you think is always different from the way other people think.
Exactly.
But while you're trying through college, high school, and all this time, did you have a mentor who was an
So
artist who could have encouraged you, or did any of the teachers try to take you under their wings?
So maybe only one teacher. And so when I was in college, I was actually pretty busy too. When I was in college, I was also working full time as well. So I was literally just going from class to work, and I was paying my college tuition myself with my full time job. So I was just really very busy. I didn't even try to. It was only there was one teacher, in my first year of second year of college, who really just wanted to. I think she really just wanted to take me on that way. I was just like, I just was, I don't know. I just wasn't thinking along those lines. Sometimes I look back and wish that I had a different mindset, but I have learned that it's not worth it trying to judge your
Your path.
past based on what you know now. Because that's the really reason why you're judging that past, because now you have some information based on your experience and lessons that you've learned. And it's now easy to now judge who you were in the past. So I've accepted it that this is my journey and this is where I am and where I'm supposed to be. That was where I was then. And it's all part of my story, that I'm sharing here. So so basically that time I just didn't, I just wasn't, I would say maybe I just probably wasn't self-aware enough, to really understand that, it's about finding your purpose. I just knew I had a talent, but I knew I had a talent, but I did not know about purpose. I guess I think I just felt like all you had to do was be a good girl. And good girl meant, of course, the usual, don't get in trouble, go to school, and get your degree, and don't bring shame to your family or things like that.
You found it
And
in.
mhm. And just do what they would want, and just do what your parents will be proud of. And then it was just basically anyone who has a degree is a good person.
Yeah.
That was the mentality. And even people I started like, if this person goes to school, like for example, if someone is in school, they have a great degree, they have a great job, that means you're good, to the point that even if they hear of that person doing something wrong, it's going to be surprising. Just because that person has accomplished some things, that means this person can't do no wrong or something. I guess, like that's kind of like the mentality of a lot of our African parents as well. Like even when they want someone to get married to somebody, that person has to have the certain accomplishments.
Yes.
They don't even necessarily focus on character if you think about it,
Yeah.
and it's mainly about accomplishments, what home you're from, what family you're from. Those things matter too, I guess. I understand where that mentality is coming from. And I understand that it's kind of about security and, trying to make sure. So I get that it's not necessarily all evil, but it's a bit, more dimensional than those things. There's some, and as we grow now, we know that it's just more, than that.
Yes,
So, and I just basically wanted to impress my parents, I guess, and just wanted to show that I was a good person, and even to myself too. It's these are still some things I'm still proud of some of those accomplishments, even though I am learning some things along the way, or some things I wish I probably had done, but I'm still proud of how I was able to focus in college, and just here in the States by myself, working and going to school and being focused and just making sure that I get my degree, and then trying to get a job. I'm still, I'm still proud of that about myself. So I have no regrets there, if that makes sense. There's
Yes.
still no regrets, because those things still sort of have a way that they've shaped me. Every experience you have, kind of have something to do with who you are today. So I'm still proud of everything. That nothing is lost. Even in my corporate world, even in the job that I left, there's no experience lost, basically, because there's still some qualities that I gained from the corporate world that I can actually, use today while trying to do my art and my writing.
Exactly. So no experience is ever lost.
Yes.
And for a lot of people watching this that may not understand what you're trying to describe, there's this overemphasis on education in Nigeria. So and that also reflects even when you see a lot of Nigerians, there are a lot of educated Nigerians, because
Mhm.
education plays a high priority in that society. Yeah,
Right.
could it also be the fact that being an artist is not something they see as one of the top profession? Could it also be what affected you to abandon your true calling?
I'll
Because
say
you
so.
thought that if that's what you choose as a career, you might not gain the same respect as they will give to a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer. Because in the Nigerian culture, you have to be one of those top professions.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they'll be like, "Oh, what are you going to do with that degree?"
Yeah. So I am. So I like that. Like when I went to college. When I was in college, like I said, I did art, and I already knew that in my mind. I was like, again, I think it probably had to do with not having a mentor, because there are. If I probably had a mentor, I would know that that was absolutely a false way of reasoning, that you can.
Narrative.
Yeah, exactly, false narrative that you cannot make it as an artist. So I just knew that I wasn't going to put myself. I could have probably done. I could have done like a course in nursing and still succeeded, because I took a few science courses and I actually did very well in them. But I just knew that I just didn't want to be. I'm not interested in this. I just didn't believe in putting myself through some. Like I would be that kind of person. I would have been. I would be that kind of daughter that if my parents forced me, because we know that that's common in the Nigerian culture, parents telling their kids that, oh, you have to do this, you have to go to school to do this. Like I would not go to school to do medicine if I am not interested in being a doctor. I would not do it. I don't know, I would do whatever I had to do to not do it. So the only thing that made sense to me was I'll just do this art. I was like, I'm just going to do art. Even though I didn't know what I was going to do afterwards with it, I was like, I'm just going to do art. And and then in college, I got exposed to, because in high school, we had to choose between art and music. So I chose art. In college, I was able to do both. So I picked music. And I developed some kind of love for classical music. It was kind of very nerdy and very fun because my friends were like, why are you buying classical music CDs? And I was like, because I just love classical. I can, like, I thought they were just boring. I thought it was boring music and, all that stuff. Well, I love classical music. I love listening to classical music. And then after like some classes, our music teacher shared that there were some shows going on in some areas, and we'll get a student discount. And I'll go to those shows to go watch, to go sit down and listen to, all these recitals and everything. And it was just very calming. So it was like a good mix of. So I just knew that, oh wow, this love just came sort of natural to me. So it's like a well-rounded art person, there's like even some of. Then I started noticing the relationship between art and music, even during some time periods. For example, there's the Baroque art and there's Baroque music, and they kind of all seem to merge, And I'm like, Renaissance art and then the music that came around that time, everything was just all related. And I was like, oh wow, like this is amazing. And I was just going deep into my art studies, and I just didn't know what I was going to do after after graduating college, And I was just still working my full-time job. I was working at a cell phone company at the time, one of the big cell phone companies. And I was working with them at the time, and I was just I was just living my life. And then I got out of college and I just started searching for work. And I was just basically looking for any job that just wanted someone that had, some jobs will take you if you have a degree. And I started, and that was just basically how I started this journey into the corporate world.
Yeah.
And my first corporate job was at a credit union in Virginia. I think it's even the largest credit union in the world. So I was always searching for like big companies because again, it's all about respect for me. And I was always looking for, it has to be a Fortune 500 company, and it has to be like a prestigious company. I wasn't trying to start with a small company, even though there are benefits to that. But I was like, it has to be again, it was all superficial for me. It has to be a big company. It has to be that kind of company. It's a company with a big name. Those are the companies that I was always seeking out. And that was what I was always chasing every time, just trying to, I guess, to compensate for something. I don't know. But so that was basically what it was. And yeah.
Yeah, deep down your soul, you have an artistic soul, and you couldn't get away from that. Then, you went into the corporate world, you were making the money, doing the work, but you wrote that you were unfulfilled in spite of the money. Can you tell
Yes.
us about that feeling of lack of satisfaction?
So there were some jobs that I enjoyed, I just enjoyed them because it was something to do. I felt like I was busy. And then it gets to the point where you just want to do something more. And I would look for another job, go to another company. And there was a time I was just changing jobs, and it was just a lateral move for a long time. Not necessarily rising high or anything. It was for a long time, it was just a lateral move, just hopping from place to place. And then I moved to, got married, moved to Columbus, got married, can't remember. Yeah. And I got another job again, I had to look for a Fortune 500 company. I found this job with a Fortune 500 company. Unfortunately, it's just Fortune 500 on the outside. There were a few things just wrong with the company, in my opinion. A few things were just not right. There was definitely some racism issues going on there. A few things. So I started just getting exposed to these things, just seeing all this prejudice going on in the corporate world, and how, as a Black person, you probably have to fight hard, to work your way up. I started experiencing those things, and then anyway, I had my daughter, and I decided to be a stay-at-home mom. So I kind of just stopped there. So I stayed home. Then I still was like, huh, and I still wasn't thinking about art or anything like that, or maybe I should use this opportunity to do art. I was just basically focused on being a mom. And then I felt like I was ready. I still wasn't feeling fulfilled. I felt like I was ready to go back to work. And I thought, oh, okay, so now I probably need to go get a master's degree or something. And so I can just find this amazing corporate job. Now, my master's program, I learned a lot. Amazing program. But, if I could do things different, I probably would have gone for it for that reason. So, but I mean, again, and I did very well in my master's program. I think I in my program, I probably even graduated like among the top, I can't remember what number, maybe top 10 or top 5 with honors. I did very well in my master's program. It was a marketing and communications program because I was also interested in that too. I think I had a real genuine interest for marketing. And I think it all ties into like maybe my love for writing. They could all be related, art, writing, marketing. I kind of found a way to marry them all. And so I got into the corporate world, and my first job that I got was a company that I wanted to. I've been really, really eyeing, and I was thankful. I was able to get into that, and I was enjoying that, and the pay was a bit better than what I was getting before. But I was in that company as a contractor. Then I wanted to. I still wasn't getting into. I was still trying to get into something in marketing, and I thought, okay, maybe I just need to get my foot in the door or something, like get another job. So I got another job with another department within the company as a full-time employee. It was it wasn't bad, it was actually, I don't even know what to use here, but I did think I knew within a month or so, or just a few weeks, I knew that I didn't want to be here. I just started reflecting like, oh wow, like I've been doing this thing for a while. I've been like, did I have any, like, I felt like I didn't have any sort of guidance or anything. Like, what were I started like really questioning my reasons for wanting to work in these environments that I keep trying to work in. I started like trying to figure out like, what are my reasons for change? Not that working in a corporate environment is bad or anything, but what are your reasons for going into? So I had to really question myself. I had to go deep. And then I was really realizing that it was because I went back to my degree. I just went to get a degree, but I didn't get a degree tailored to any job that you really wanted to, like, that I can really do in the corporate world. I did my art, and it would have been nice to really go into art, but I didn't have any kind of like mentor or anything like that, or I just didn't take it seriously. So I don't think I was even thinking of whether I had a mentor, but I just knew that I did not take it seriously, or
You didn't see a career in it.
yeah, I couldn't take it because all I
You
could
see
see
it
was,
more as a hobby or vocation,
yes,
not a profession.
exactly. So that was what it was. So I was just like, oh, wow, like, because I just needed to see it in, I just felt like I had to work for some. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. Like I didn't even have that spirit in me. I felt like, who's going to hire an artist? Even though I see people hiring artists, but I was like, I wanted a 9 to 5. I wanted that kind of structure. I was raised in structure. So that was what I was just following. And having to like feel like, oh my God, this structure that I've been raised in is probably not me. It's just a conditioning. Like having to admit that was something I was always just pushing. And I was like, all I have to do is just focus on this job and work harder, and everything will be okay.
Everything fall into place.
So I just kept on just pushing. And then I also liked it too, like when, like, again, there were superficial reasons when I go out and people ask, oh, where do you work? And I mentioned the name of my company, like, oh wow, nice, so I'm sorry, I'm just shaking my head now when I think about these things. But it's like, it's good to be able to admit these things to yourself, and to know that, yes, yeah, it felt good, like hearing people just say, oh, wow, how did you get to work in this company, or things like that, and I knew I wasn't fulfilled in that company. I knew I wasn't happy there, but it just made me just remember how everything is just superficial. Like, I'm not happy. I feel weird when I get into work. I feel strange, out of place. And there was even a time, even and because I was always, basically I spent most of my time at work and just a little time to spend with my family. I just thought, for me to spend most of my day doing something that I don't even enjoy, that's something that doesn't even give me any kind of fulfillment or any satisfaction. And it was a good company. The company that I worked for was a really good company. They took care of their employees. They had great benefits. So I just felt like, many times I just felt like I was taking up space, and that there probably was someone who probably would, put their heart into this, and I'm just here. And I was still, not that I wasn't doing my work, but I actually still was, but it took a lot of emotional energy to really put your heart into something that you don't even find purpose in, and that could be really draining. That could be, that's bad for your mental health, especially, So I was just always just trying to endure and just go like, and sometimes I'll speak to some people without really going too deep. Before even going deep, I'll hear people say things like, yeah, you just have to do it. That's what we all do. That's what everybody does. Nobody really likes their job or anything, but we just have to suck it up. And especially if you're a family person now, it's not about you, which is true. It's not all about you anymore. You have, kids to take care of and all that. And I was just like, wow, okay, I guess that's just life. It's time to, that's just adulting, you don't get to do this thing that you want to do. I just started realizing, and then, of course, with rise of social media, you start seeing artists making it, and I'm like, and many times I really tried to want to get into it again, but it wasn't anything consistent. For example, after college, and I can probably show you some artwork, nothing, like this is some things I was able to bring back from college, that again, it wasn't necessarily any big work or anything. So this is, let me see if you can see this. I don't know if you can see this here, yes. Or do I need to move back or something? So this was just a college project. This is on paper, like some kind of mosaic style. As you can see, I always put, I always had to put my
African heritage. That's a hot, and there's some people in African attire.
Yeah, and I think there's a dancer in me. I think I call this ritual dancer. So this was, something I did in college. So these were things like I used to look forward to when we had to do art. I mean, these things are healing. Like when we had to do like an art project, it wasn't work for me. It was more like a time for me it was therapy for me. Like this was my time to de-stress. And I'll just put all my heart into it. And there was this college assignment. And I kind of, let me show you this one. I'm going to have to get up. So this is a self-portrait that I did. So this is oil. And I remember the instructor giving us some instructions on what to do. And I just went deep into it, probably doing a bit more than what she wanted us to do. And it took me 3 months to complete this. And it was due
it's beautiful.
a month before I completed it. And she kept on saying, you're going to fail this course because you're going to turn this thing late. I was like, please, I'm so sorry. But I kind of started doing this thing in a way that I just have to keep up with it. I can't stop this. I can't stop this. I just have to continue. And she was like, you're not serious. You're not this, you're not that. And she said, just bring it. Let me see what you're doing. And when I was talking to her, I was probably already here, like, because I was doing it square by square. I was probably just like, maybe around here. And I felt like if I brought it to her, she would stop me and tell me, no, I want you to do what I asked you to do in the first place. So it wasn't supposed to be very detailed. It was supposed to be, we were all supposed to do our self-portraits. It was still supposed to be, to kind of have some semblance of you, but not too dated or something like that. So I was like, ugh. So eventually, when I was done, I brought it to school and I showed her. She was very impressed. She was like, wow, okay. And she was quite impressed. And that was the one who wanted to mentor me after saying that. She really wanted to really take me under her wing and show me a few things and just really encourage me but I had to go to work because many times I didn't even have time to listen to anyone talk to me because I was like, okay, I have to go to work. I have from class to work, So I wasn't, I didn't have time to focus on like what, I was just trying to make some quick money, just basically short term. I was like in a short term thinking mode, like I just want to pay my tuition. I want to go to school, get it, and then, so that was just my mode at the time. So I found joy in my artwork in college, like I was just always doing that. And then this painting actually also the one I showed you, I turned it into an art show, and it actually won a prize. And then I did one of my mom. It's a very large painting. I don't know if you'll see this one. I think I have this on my Instagram page too. So I did one of my mom, So I did one of my mom as well. And as you can see, the signature has my maiden name in it because I was still still doing my bachelor's program. Right. So I did one of my mom. And after that, I think I did one. Unfortunately, that got damaged, but I still have it here. I didn't trash it or anything. It got damaged while I was moving. So, and it was actually framed, but just on cardboard paper. So it got a bit damaged. Oh. And I just, so this one actually inspired a work that I did recently, which I'll get to. Because I had to, yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, so this one inspired something. So there's actually like a style that I use in this painting that I used in that other painting as well. So it's a stylized kind of art. So if you look at everything black in that painting, including this area, all the black lines, they're actually not black lines. It's the cardboard itself. I just, painted the gold and left those lines around. So it's as if I think now I kind of have developed I'm trying to figure out what my style of art should be, even though I feel like I'm sort of rounded in different styles of visual art. For example, like the one of my mom is pretty realistic. The one of me is pretty realistic as well, even though it's a younger version of me. I think I still sort of look like this, I guess. So, and it's still that same style, painting square by square, like leaving lines alone. So I think I just like doing things that are very detailed. I just like doing things something that would just take my attention, something I can focus on. So I think I'm kind of excited about what my art style is going to be. I think I'm figuring it out now because I had to like go back and look at my past work and go like, can I still do these things? Can I still do this? And figure it out. So that was what I did. So in college, after all these arts that I did, including the ones I left in school because I didn't take it seriously enough to go try to get them. I didn't do any art until after I had my daughter. So this was years. I'm talking about maybe more than 8 years. I didn't pick up a paintbrush or anything. I didn't do anything art related. I did not do any artwork. Just I didn't.
You just
so
life.
Yeah, it was just I didn't do any work. I didn't even draw anything. Then after I finished nursing my daughter, I think someone wanted. There was a guy who worked with my husband at the time. The guy's an engineer, but he also does art-related things on the side, like He does improv and things like that, or collaborates with artists to set up shows and stuff like that. He even asked me to do a voiceover for like a creepy doll or something, and that was fun. And then he was doing the theme Mellow Yellow was the theme of his art, the art show, and it was encouraging artists. So my husband basically had to talk me into like, just do something. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do an art. And right now I am going to do something that means something to me. I just finished, I just weaned my daughter, from nursing her for about a year. And I'm going to do something like a mom nursing a baby. So I did that. Yes, I did. So this was the first painting I did after many years of not doing any art. So I just did this one. This didn't take me long.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you. So I just did this one, like, and I turned it into the art show. So it's
Wow.
just, I just, since it was a yellow theme, I just said, okay,
Yellow mellow.
yeah. So I just did
Wow.
that. And I didn't do any art. Again, like I said, just not really, just focusing on work.
And work.
Yeah.
And
So,
let's get to you spent 5 years at your last corporate job. You
yes.
have a feeling that you were out of place. You wrote that you
Yeah.
are unfulfilled and you are unsatisfied. How
Mhm.
did you survive that 5 years with that
Oh,
feeling of being out of place?
so I don't even know how I did that because, like I said, I will be there 8 hours a day, even longer sometimes, like working overtime sometimes. And I found out that I was really, really just, um, I was basically spending most of my time at work than I was at home even. And there was a time I decided to just bring some of my artwork to my job. It was crazy. Like I said, I'm a weird person. You can't keep your weirdness hidden for a long time. So I just came in with some of my art. I just hung them on my cubicle, like just put them around. And people will walk around and go, "Who did that?" And I'm like, "I did." And the next thing they'll say, "Why are you here?" You know, and and sometimes that will make me want to cry when they say that. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I I can't leave now because I am
You stuck. You felt
comfortable here.
stuck.
Yeah, I just felt stuck. I didn't know how to start. I just think I was like, this is not the age to start life
To
over.
start all over.
Yeah, like you can't just, I mean, just can't start over now. You just have to suck it up and just go for it. And then,
Live
of
with it.
course, now social media, you'll come across memes. It seems like it's just like the cosmos just sending messages to you, saying things like, "You didn't come here to sit behind the cubicle and work and retire and die." Like I don't know if anyone's seen that meme somewhere before. Like you didn't come, like your purpose is not to come here and sit behind the desk all day and work and die. And those things would just be haunting me. And I'm like, but how am I going to do this? How am I going to, but I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, is it this art? Like, and then I saw another meme that said, make a list of things you enjoy doing and make a list of things you actually do and then adjust. So I made a list of things that I enjoy doing and I made a list of things that I actually do and none of them matched. None. And I'm like, that explains a lot. That explains like, some depression, I guess, like that will explain some things. Like if you're not living in alignment with who you truly are, or who your true, like what your true calling is, you will not feel fulfilled. And it's going to show in many areas of your life. You're not going to do well in a lot of things. I even felt like, as a mom, I wasn't, doing well. I just was like beating myself up in other areas of life. And I knew that I was just spending most of my time just trying to fit in this mold or trying to meet like society's expectations and things like that of what, like what a serious person is like, you're just supposed to do this 9 to 5 thing. You're supposed to be in this corporate world. And
And that's
that's
it.
all I knew. And again, even though I knew that I knew that I had this talent, I just didn't know how to go for it. I didn't have a clue of what to do. Like even this job that I was doing that was unfulfilling, this was the only way I knew how to survive. So it was just what I knew. And I did not know how to leave it, even though it's just the same thing as people being in, when someone is in a bad relationship and they don't want to come out because that's what they know. It's just their comfort zone. So it became my comfort zone. And I just didn't, and I wanted to, I knew I wanted to leave. I felt stuck. And I would start some artwork and I wouldn't be able to do another one after. Like I did this one.
Was it at some point you started painting at night when the kids are
Yes.
off to bed, and then when you're back from work, just to be able to balance both
Right.
worlds? But at the
Yes.
same time, too, it wasn't satisfactory because, like you said, you were working in a field where you didn't belong. You were like a fish trying to survive on land, seeking outside
Exactly.
validation.
Exactly.
Was this
So
one of the work you
this was one of the work I was
one of
always
the paintings during that time?
Yeah, this is what I was always coming to do at night. Like I'll come. This took me a while because I was literally spending 30 minutes. I just wanted to finish it. I just did it because I also I also have this habit of starting an artwork and then just abandoning it and not finishing because I just didn't feel motivated. So I was very determined to finish this one, and I told myself I don't care if it's only 30 minutes a day, even if all I do for 30 minutes is to mix the paint and then go to bed, then that's it. Or if all I have to do is just stand there 30 minutes and look at it and see what adjustment I need to make tomorrow, then that's work too. So I was just breaking into little 30 minutes, like every day, like just committing to 30 minutes until I finish this work. So I was very
Yes.
happy that I finished this work. So I felt really
So that
accomplished.
was your strategy, 30 minutes a day,
Yeah. But even
at
then,
least.
it just wasn't, like I just thought like I cannot keep doing 30 minutes a day and then doing this corporate job. Like it's not fair. Like this corporate job is taking my whole everything, and I'm coming home with like leftover energy, basically. Like daytime, I spend my daytime at work. That's when you're alive and refreshed, Like I give my hours, my energy, to something that I am not really too driven by. And then I come home with like the scraps. And that's what I have to attend to my kids. And at that time by then I'm cranky, I'm tired. I want to just slump on the chair and my kids are talking to me and I'm just going, like not really having any relationship with my
Energy.
family. Exactly, not having any energy or anything like that. So I did this one and I was very happy that I did this one. I felt really accomplished with this one. Then after that, I just decided, okay, I have to figure something out, like maybe keep going. But it just wasn't, because coming home tired sometimes, I couldn't keep up with it long term. After a while, I started even feeling sick. It was just hard for me to keep going to bed late every night because some nights, sometimes you can't really like, I don't know, sometimes you just can't predict how your nights will go, and kids have school. And then on top of that, I have, my kids, my youngest son, he's on the autism spectrum and he needs more attention. And I just wasn't able
To balance all
to balance. I
these
was having some challenges.
responsibilities.
Then I
Now,
was,
I think at some point too, you ask your boss if they will let you work part time so that
yes,
you can work part time, then so that you can focus on the family and your gift. And you got turned down.
right. I got
Then
turned down. Let me see if I can. Is my picture centered enough? Let's see. Okay. All right. So I got turned down, and she said no, and I can't remember the reasons. I just wasn't listening. All I knew was that there was no, and there was probably some good reasons why. She explained some good reasons, but all I know was that there's no need for the reasons. I'm not getting it. So I was just hearing just some white noise in the background, and I just was like, okay, I have to just keep doing this. I have to just stick with this. And
yeah.
I don't know, like there's no option here. I'll figure it out. I have to figure it out somehow. And it just kept I just kept going on. And luckily I was able to do some other work, I did a few artwork. I'm gonna try to speed through this. I did a few artworks. Now this is just a paper printout, but the actual work is like about 40 by is a big painting. It was this was at COSI. They did a call for artists. They were having a show called Mysteries of the Deep Sea. And again, of course, my imagination went wild.
You thought of the Yemaja.
Exactly. So
That's a
I went
representation
into
of
my
which is the
whole,
mermaid.
everything just went in the African culture, African spirituality, the Yoruba spirituality, Yoruba mythology, everything just came into my head. I always just have to incorporate everything into my artwork. And I just did Mistress of the Deep Sea. And I called this one Depths of Divinity was the title that I gave this artwork. And I even said something about, and I wrote a little piece there about, it's actually on my Instagram. about finding your purpose and knowing who you are, knowing what you're called to earth to be, and that, you're deeper than, like, just go deep and find out who you are. So some of these things I'm talking to myself when
You're
I'm doing
talking to yourself, yes.
Yeah, like
That's the thing about being creative on art. There's
Mhm.
always the art imitating life and life imitating art in the life of
Right.
an artist. There's
Exactly.
no fiction that is true fiction.
Exactly.
Fiction is the truth that is a lie that tells the truth. The
Mhm.
same way it is. Then the pandemic struck,
Yes.
and it changed the whole game. Then you lost your sister. How
Yeah.
did that affect you being a fish trying to survive on land and changing how you saw yourself as an artist?
So yeah, when the pandemic struck and we had to work from home, I was a bit happy about that because now I got to see daytime in my house because my daytime was spent at work. I got to see the sun at home because I would come home at night usually. I got to see the sun at home. I got to see my kids. I got to give them wholesome meals. We got to eat, find time to sit down at the table and eat. Like during my breaks, I was spending with my kids until the teachers started like figuring out how to, what to do, and then the homework started coming in and all their work and all their Zoom classes. And then I have this job where I'm having meetings upon meetings and, and I'm literally hopping from one place to another. My husband's job, he had to go straight to work. I mean, he didn't even take much time off work. I think initially he stayed home, but right away they had called him back to the office, working full time as if there's no pandemic. So everything was still going on normally for him at his job because of the kind of job that he does. He couldn't really work from home or anything. So it was just me and the kids. It started getting very draining. And I thought that I was going to have more time to do art because I was now at home. No, it wasn't. I was literally using my home space to do work. Work was controlling everything at home again, and I was like, oh my God, it's even worse now, but it was still nice. There were still some good things like seeing my kids every day, but it was worse. I didn't even get to cook or anything like that because it was hard trying to get off and because I couldn't do that while I work. So many times I was just doing that whole Uber Eats when I had food at home, because I was about to go into a meeting. So I was able to manage a painting that I did, which, I don't know if I can show you that, but I have a painting that I did during, the pandemic.
Let's see it, if you have it in hand.
Okay, yes, this one. And this one is probably this one is a very spontaneous one because I wasn't necessarily, let's see.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So this one, I just went with the brush. I didn't sit down.
What's the name of this painting?
So I called this one the High Priestess. I kind of dabbled with a few titles. At first I called it Peace Be Still or something. Then I called it Resilience. Then I think I settled with the High Priestess or something like that. So that's what I said.
Most of your work talks about they talk about what you're going through at that time.
Exactly.
And eventually you quit your job.
Yes. So so this was what happened. Then I lost my sister, my younger sister. She passed away in May of last year. So, hold on one second. Yeah, so she passed away in May last year. It was very sad because, unfortunately, before she passed, we were out of touch. We were kind of sort of estranged, yeah. And she died 10 days after her 40th birthday. Luckily, on her 40th birthday, and she cut herself off from the whole family. I wasn't sure what she was probably going through, but she did cut herself off from the whole family. And then my mom sent me a message saying, that I just sent a message to Musmala, and she actually responded. I wished her happy birthday, and she responded. And then I sent her a message too, and she responded. I said, happy birthday, Musmala. I hope you have a wonderful day. And she said, you too, Morenike. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And she had done this before where she cut herself up and then she came back. And I'm her older sister, and I tend to be a bit, as a big sister, maybe pushy. I didn't want to be too pushy with her. So I didn't push for it. I didn't try. I didn't want to go, so what's going on with you? I was like, okay, she's responding, so wait for her. She's going to come back. And then, unfortunately, 10 days after that, I heard, the news that she was sick, and within 3 days of her illness, she actually died. So that was very sad. That was very distressing. That was it was very shocking. I was working. Then I reached out to my boss to let them know. I took some days off work, and I went back to work, just trying to work. Look, I was still working from home, so there are many times on my desk I was just always crying. While I just couldn't imagine being in the office. I just wasn't sure if I would be ready to, I would have been ready to go back to the office, and and the job now is still demanding, of course, the business as usual, everything, they still want you to do your work, of course. And I just, so that really just made me think, like with this pandemic and everybody working from home, I'm seeing there's just lots of shifts happening in people's lives everywhere. And I was experiencing my own shift at the time. It just started, I kind of started going into some kind of existential, crisis. And I was thinking, that, life, this is the closest death I've ever experienced. Like, life is really very short, very fragile, like very fickle. And I am here, there's this pandemic going on. People are dying left and right. And I am here at home trying to manage work and mom and daycare and all that at the same time within the same hours. And then I'm trying to grieve all at the same time, and at this point, I just felt like I have to look out for me and figure out what is important, like what is important in my life, And I'm very thankful I did, I do have some privilege. I have a husband who's supportive, and because to survive on his income, of course, we'll have to change some things around. I spoke to him and I thought about this. I said, okay, maybe this is what it took for me to really just take the leap. It was literally a leap of faith. I wasn't really into my art yet to the point where I was, established enough to quit my job or anything like that. But I just looked at life differently at this point. I was just looking at it like it's just so short, and you can die any moment. Anything can just happen, and you would not have lived the way you're supposed to live. And that all these things, then all the vanity, all the reasons why I was chasing the corporate world just started just not making sense anymore. Just started looking stupid all of a sudden, like it doesn't even make sense. Like the reason, like as in my own reason for going into this, it's not worth, the energy I'm putting into this, and I want to spend time with my children, like even help them during this difficult time, this pandemic. Things have changed for them as well. I just want to be more present. I just felt like I was failing at everything, at work, at home, and I just needed to just eliminate things that were not important anymore. And it wasn't about money anymore. I just wanted to be a healthy person mentally. I wanted to be present for my family, and I wanted to focus on what was important. And then I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. And I just decided, okay, well, and there was something I always told myself, like I consider myself a late bloomer because some of these things I probably should have come to this realization earlier, like maybe much younger. But I also tell myself it's never too late to bloom. It's just never too late to bloom at all.
Never too late to bloom.
Yeah.
Because we're running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
So you quitting your job, I believe eventually it helped you to find your true north and your true self.
Yes.
And it healed you through the grieving and all that.
Yes, absolutely. So I decided to start writing in Medium. So I wrote a few things about my journey in Medium. So I wrote some articles and I shared it on Facebook as well. So some of my Facebook friends have read them. and I decided to just go into my art, and I did a few art. I did a few artwork. Like when I
We might not have time to see some of those because we only have about 30 seconds left,
okay.
and we have to sign off. I'm
Oh, okay.
sorry. Yeah, but I have to really thank you for coming onto Legal Angle,
Thank
and
you.
it's really been a wonderful time.
Thank
Now,
you so
thank you
much
for
for
coming
having
on the
me.
show. And for those of you watching or listening to this podcast, thank you for joining us. And until next time, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.